This place? It's been making beer longer than most countries have existed. Wars, empires, plagues, revolutions. This brewery outlived all of them. And it's still operating today. Over 1,000 years ago, before skyscrapers, before electricity, before the modern world even made sense, someone was already brewing here. Welcome to the world's oldest brewery. In Bavaria, Germany, on a quiet hill in the town of Freising, sits the Weihenstephan Brewery. And according to historical records, it's been officially brewing since the year 1040. That's not a typo, 1040. When this brewery was already established, the Vikings were still around. The Middle Ages hadn't even fully begun. Most of Europe was made up of small kingdoms, dirt roads, and handwritten books. And somehow, against all odds, this brewery survived. It started as part of a Benedictine monastery. Monks lived here, worked here, studied here, and brewed here. Back then, brewing wasn't just a craft. It was survival. Water wasn't always safe to drink. Brewing made it safer, more stable, more reliable. So beer wasn't a luxury, it was a necessity. The monks brewed carefully, methodically. They refined recipes over generations, and slowly, this monastery became known for something special: consistency. That mattered in a world where almost nothing was consistent. Over the centuries, kingdoms rose and fell around it. Borders changed, rulers came and went. But the brewery remained. It burned down, it was rebuilt, it faced wars, it faced political upheaval. It even faced secularization when the monastery was dissolved and taken over by the state. And still, it kept brewing. That alone is incredible. But here's what makes it even more impressive. The brewery didn't just survive history, it helped shape brewing history. Germany is famous for its beer culture, and a huge reason for that is something called the Reinheitsgebot, the German beer purity law of 1516. This law limited beer ingredients to just a few basics. No shortcuts, no additives, just quality and process. Weihenstephan followed those principles for centuries. That focus on precision, patience, and tradition turned brewing into a science. And over time, the brewery became more than a producer. It became a teacher. Today, Weihenstephan is closely connected with one of the world's most respected brewing and food science universities. Brewers from all over the world study techniques rooted in centuries of practice. Think about that. Modern science learning from medieval methods, innovation built on tradition. This isn't about nostalgia, it's about refinement. Every generation adjusted, improved, adapted, but never abandoned the foundation. That's why this brewery isn't frozen in time. It's evolved. Steam engines, industrialization, modern quality control, global distribution. It adapted to all of it. And yet, the core remained the same. Location, process, respect for the craft. At a time when most businesses struggle to last 10 years, this one has lasted nearly a millennium. That's not luck. That's resilience. And patience. Lots of patience. Think about everything this brewery has lived through. The Black Death, the Holy Roman Empire, the Renaissance, the Industrial Revolution, 2 world wars, entire political systems collapsing and reforming. And through it all, brewing continued. Barrels kept being filled, recipes kept being passed down, knowledge kept being preserved. That continuity is rare, almost impossible. And that's why the world's oldest brewery isn't just about beer. It's about human persistence, about institutions that outlast individuals, about craftsmanship that refuses to disappear. Because here's the thing, this brewery could have modernized itself out of existence. It could have chased trends, cut corners, sacrificed quality for speed. But it didn't. Instead, it became something even more valuable. A bridge between past and present. When people talk about history, they often imagine ruins, broken stones, lost buildings. But this isn't a ruin. It's alive. It's active. It's proof that history doesn't always crumble. Sometimes it keeps working, quietly, consistently, year after year. And that's what makes this place special, not the age, the continuity. Anyone can build something new, Very few things survive long enough to become timeless. The world's oldest brewery reminds us that longevity isn't about being flashy. It's about doing one thing well, over and over, while the world changes around you. In a modern age obsessed with speed, this place represents the opposite. Slow processes, careful decisions, long-term thinking. That mindset is rare today, but it's the reason this brewery still exists. When you look at it, you're not just seeing a building, you're seeing a timeline, a record of human history that didn't stop. And that's kind of mind-blowing, because while empires collapsed, this brewery just kept doing its job, one batch at a time, over centuries. The world's oldest brewery isn't impressive because it's old. It's impressive because it endured, because it adapted without losing its identity, because it proves that tradition and progress don't have to compete. They can work together. In the end, this story isn't really about beer, it's about legacy. About what happens when something is built carefully enough to last. When knowledge is preserved instead of rushed. When consistency beats chaos. The world's oldest brewery stands as a reminder that some things don't need to reinvent themselves every decade. They just need to keep showing up, year after year, century after century. And in a world that constantly forgets its past, that might be the most remarkable thing of all.